Hello again, everybody. Paul Gerald with Groundhopper Soccer Guides, and we have another fan chat video for you right now. This is a series in which we chat with fans or supporters of English football clubs. You can check out the previous videos that we've done up there. We've had Norwich City, we've had Leicester City, we've had Reading, quite a few others. This week we have one that you probably never heard of called North Ferriby Football Club. So we're Ferriby, first of all. Where is North Ferriby? Well, North Ferriby is a village of just a few thousand people that is basically right next to the city of Hull, which you may have heard of because Hull City are in the championship. Where is this, by the way? Sorry about the glare on the map, but here's England, and that is Hull. North Ferriby is a little village there that for many years had a football club called North Ferriby United, and they went out of business just a few years ago. And so a new owner and the supporters got together and got the whole thing started again under the name North Ferriby Football Club. This is a fairly common phenomenon in English football called a phoenix club. One club goes down in flames, another one rises from the ashes. In this case, with the same supporters, the same ground, everything. Just new ownership and a slightly new name. So it's an interesting story that Riley will tell us about what's it like to lose your club, what's it like to bring your club back, and what's it like to follow a club in the 10th tier of English football. So what do I mean by that? Well, English football is arranged in a so-called pyramid of leagues with different tiers, Premier League at the top, and the world in which North Ferriby exists down at the 10th tier. So we've got a video here all about the leagues and cups of English football. But meanwhile, enjoy chatting with Riley about non-league football, really, about losing your club, getting your club back, and about the level of football at which maybe a couple of hundred people are there and you can bring your dog. So we'll even hear all about that. So thanks for watching. Be sure and check the description down below for links to things that we mentioned, including how to follow Riley on social media. And we hope you enjoy the video. Riley, welcome to the fan chat show. It's not really a podcast; it's just a thing. So welcome. So you are from North Ferriby, right? And
yeah, that is the club I support. Yes.
yeah, okay. So let's start with this. Where is that, and what part of England?
North Ferriby is a small village on the outside of Hull. There is a port city in Yorkshire, north of England.
The far eastern end of Yorkshire on the coast, famous for fish and chips, is Hull, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and chip spice and all that sort of fun stuff.
Oh, this is a funny thing to me. American chip spice, right?
Yes.
Which is not American.
No, it's made in Hull.
It literally doesn't exist in the United States.
No.
Oh, well. Among the many odd things between America and England, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so North Ferriby is the village called North Ferriby, or is it called Ferriby?
Yes, that's the name of the village. It is North Ferriby.
Is there a south or other Ferriby up there?
Yes, there's a South Ferriby, but that's in Lincolnshire on the other side of the Humber Bridge.
Okay, all right. And your club is North Ferriby, what, FC? Is that
FC? It was United, but now it's FC.
okay? So that is why now we're getting into why you have come on the show today, because there was a North Ferriby United, and now there's a North Ferriby FC. What happened?
What happened was, well, United was a club for a long time. It was founded in 1934, and it was quite a lowly club, as obviously village clubs would be. But then Ferriby, there was a bit of a rise. There was a new owner came in, and they got to the FA Vase final in the 90s, and then progressively got a bit better into the Northern Premier League, and then through the mid 2010s, we got into the National League North, and that's when the rise really started to happen. We got to the FA Trophy final. We won that against Wrexham in a great final. It's a really good final. If any people watching haven't seen it, I really recommend watching the YouTube video of it because it is on YouTube. And we won that. And then a few seasons after, we got to the pinnacle of non-league, the National League, which for a club of a village of only 3,000, 4,000 people is astounding. We got relegated immediately, but it was a great experience for everyone. But then some money got pulled out, some dodgy owners came in, and we got another relegation. And it looked like we were going to get another relegation outside the Northern Prem. But then mid-March 2019, the club had to fold because of debts of 14,000 or even less, I think.
14,000 pounds was the total debt?
Yeah, even could be even less than that. I remember it was a really small amount of money.
Huh.
But then the club had to.
That doesn't seem like much money. I don't happen to have 14,000 pounds sitting around, but you know.
To get some money into the ground, and the dodgy owners we had, they wanted to bring caravans onto the pitch when there weren't match days to bring some match day revenue in. And nobody wanted that idea. The council had to put in blockers on the walk up the sort of roadway into the ground to stop caravans getting in case they tried to do it.
What is it? What do you mean by bring a caravan onto the pitch?
Well, they wanted to turn it into a caravan park. People could bring their, I don't know what, they might have a different name in the States, trailers or something like trailer homes.
You mean like people to spend the night, sort of camp there?
Yeah, basically, yeah, to camp there on non-match days.
Well, that wouldn't be very good for the pitch, would it?
Yeah. No, that was the thing. It would have been absolutely awful for the pitch, and it was a very strange time. And then the guy that came in is quite well known in the area for money-making schemes and all that sort of thing. So everyone knew he was quite a dodgy guy. But yeah, it eventually led to the club folding, and then we had to reform at the very lowest level of non-league, at level 10, Northern Counties East League, and then we've gone from there. And it was absolutely the worst year to reform because that season it's cancelled COVID. Season after cancelled COVID, so we have to go all over again this season. So it's a strange. We must be. We were saying we must be the only club that's had 3 seasons voided in a row. We had the season we were administrated, and then COVID. So it's an exciting time to be a North Ferriby fan.
Well, it's an interesting time, isn't it?
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so I want to back up a little bit because I know some of the things you just said, but maybe a lot of my viewers are being American. So you made it National League South. That is tier 6 of the pyramid, the second step of non-league football. Or National League South or North? Why are you in the South if you're up by Hull?
North, the National League North.
The North. Okay, sorry. And before that, what is the league right below that you had come
from? Northern Premier League.
The Northern Premier League. So that is step 3, tier 7.
Yes.
And who are some of the other teams, just for reference? Like who are you playing in the Northern Premier League?
When we were there, it was a title race between us and a team called Hednesford. We won the league on goal difference on last day of the season.
Wow.
Other teams, there was Worksop and all that sort. So mainly small northern towns. FC United Manchester is probably the most famous one.
Which one?
FC United of Manchester.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. That's the spin-off club from the Manchester United fans wanted some real football. So, okay. Yeah. Did you also play Salford City, speaking of Manchester United spin-offs?
No, they were in the league below, I believe. They were in the league below for a very long time before the money came in.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, and then the FA trophy or vase. Which one was it that you won?
We originally got to the FA Vase final in the 90s when we were when we were Northern Counties, but then we made the FA trophy in 2015.
Okay, so the FA Vase, as you call it, we say vase, but we'll let you say that. Who's eligible for that competition? Who plays?
Tiers 9 and 10 of non-league. It used to. And for a long time, tier 11 was allowed as well, but that's not a thing anymore. But it was. Okay. I assume it was then. I wasn't alive then. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So that's the Vase, and so then the trophy that goes up to League One, doesn't it?
The trophy is National League and below down to step 4 of non-league, tier 8. And we were National League North at the time we won that.
Okay. So and that's at Wembley, right? And who'd you beat in the final there?
We met, we met Wrexham there.
Wrexham. They're
They were
now
in
famous because a couple of American or
yeah,
Canadian actors purchased them.
Bob McElhaney and Ryan Reynolds had brought in.
Exactly. And did you go to that game at Wembley?
No, I did not. I was a bit too young at the time. I remember I was following it on the radio though.
I'm sure.
It was very cool. That's when that run was what brought me into North Ferriby. I was 11 or 12 at the time. I didn't really know what non-league was, but then when you were listening to Hull City on the radio on the way back from the game, you heard about North Ferriby and what they were doing in the FA Trophy, and I'm like, what's North Ferriby? What's to North Ferriby?
Yeah.
So you look into it, and it's like, wow, there's this club on my doorstep that I've never been to and are doing really well. It's a bit glory thing to say, oh, they're doing well, so let me go. But I'm still going now, and we're playing small mining towns in the middle of nowhere. So
right. So you've become a proper fan, in other words.
Yeah.
So
you start the glory supporter, you become the normal fan.
Is this pretty common, I guess, in England? Like you're a Hull City supporter, and they are a championship now, right? So you sort of have your big club and then your local club. Is that kind of a common thing?
That can be common, but some people don't like the idea of two clubs. But Hull City has always had a relationship with North Ferriby. They play a pre-season game every year called the Billy Bly Trophy. Billy Bly being an ex-goalkeeper for Hull City. And that's played every year between Hull City, usually their academy side versus North Ferriby. They played it this year. I went to it. We lost 3-1 to Hull City's academy side, but it was a great game. It brings a lot of people into the ground. It's Hull City has that relationship. So people always see North Ferriby as the second team to Hull City, and you probably know about the ownership thing happening at Hull City at the moment.
Yep.
There's a lot of difficulty around the owners. It's getting a little better now, but still a lot of anger towards the owners. So people are like, I don't want to go to Hull City anymore. I'll go to this club on my doorstep. I'll go to North Ferriby, and they sometimes enjoy it a lot more, so they stay.
Right. And before all this happened, what was it like going to a game at North Ferriby? What's the ground like, etc.?
Our ground, it's called Grange Lane for sponsorship reasons. Now it is the Dransfield Stadium. It's a small ground. It holds about 3,000 people. It has one seated stand. It's very nice. It's very famous because it has a field of allotments right next to the ground. On one side of the pitch where the goals are, there's a field of allotments. So sometimes if you hit your ball too hard, you hit your shot too hard, you're probably destroying somebody's cabbages or carrots or whatever.
Okay, so when you say allotments, this is another Britishism. What we might call that a community garden. Like you live in a flat nearby, garden. But you can go and farm a little patch. Yeah, okay, so you're kicking the ball potentially into someone's vegetable patch, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the other side of the ground, there's a great view of the Humber Bridge, the largest single span suspension bridge in the UK, the 7th largest in the world, I believe.
Okay.
And then it's very cool. There's a lot of great photos of people taking pictures of, and then we have a railway line going over the ground just behind the seated stand, and it's quite a small ground, but for the village it's more than enough.
Okay. Okay, so then the dodgy owners come along, and this is unfortunately a common story in a lot of English clubs. Is somebody who at best doesn't know what they're doing and at worst is simply a terrible person, buys a club, and either they just are incompetent, or in your case, it sounds like they were actually taking money out of the club. I mean, this was sort of a...
Yeah. The issue was we had a guy come in, and he was a former player. He was a former player for North Ferriby. He came in when the original owners sold when we got to the National League. And he believed that North Ferriby wasn't big enough to support such a high level of non-league football. So he wanted to move us into Hull. He wanted to move us to a ground he already owned called Dunswell Park on the north side of Hull, which he already had a team there called East Yorkshire Carnegie. And he wanted to basically put us in Dunswell Park and make us East Hull, call us East Hull, and give Hull a non-league team at Ferriby's level so they can get bigger crowds, etc. And then give North Ferriby, East Yorkshire Carnegie spot at level 10 of non-league because that's more suitable for a village the size of North Ferriby. And this wasn't very popular, of course.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
This is another difference between America and England, of course, is that in America, the idea of a team moving, it's annoying, but it's been happening for 40 years now. Like we have this, but in England, like you don't just pick up a club and put it somewhere else, right?
Yeah. And it's like, it's only 50 miles up the road, but North Ferriby's had a football team for almost a century.
Yeah.
So it's very important to people. And there was a big campaign. They started a fanzine, small magazine to be sold for money to help raise money for the club to stop it being moved. And then the FA eventually rejected the name change and the move.
Okay.
So the owner just thought, oh, I'm just not going to deal with it anymore. Oh. So we just had players coming in and out, no real money being put in. The ground was beyond repair in a lot of spaces, and the club just didn't look like it was going anywhere because there's no money being put in, and players coming and going as they wish.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a great. There was a the fans, we still enjoyed it. We got trips to, I didn't go on these trips, but trips to Torquay and all this sort of places, all those sort of places.
Quite do people take time. Like a supporters coach all the way down to Torquay? That's a long trip.
Yeah, they got the coach all the way down to Torquay. So like, even though there was some dodgy dealings going on behind the club, behind the scenes, we were still enjoying ourselves because we were facing such a high caliber of teams. But then you get relegated again. It looks like you're going to get relegated again, and eventually your club disappears. So yeah, it was disappointing, but at least we have our club now.
Yeah, and I want to get to that, but first I want to talk about like what. Can you even describe what that's like to have your club disappear? I mean, did it happen all at once, or did you kind of know like we're in trouble? Oh no, were there stages of this process, or did just one day it's gone?
I think we knew we were in trouble. There was hearings at court and all that sort of thing. And then eventually it just happens. Like you just get the news through the thing that, oh, we're being winded up at court. So you're a bit like, oh no, what?
Yeah, what now?
You spot. The local non-league community was actually really good about it. If you were, there's a club called Barton Town, which is on the other side of the Humber Bridge. It's the first town to get to if you cross the bridge. They offered free entry for all North Ferriby season pass holders when the club was liquidated.
Okay.
So you at least had a team to watch.
Right. Yes.
But I don't think the disappointment lasted very long because very quickly there was talk about a Phoenix club being created, a new club being created, by the owner who owned us when we won the FA Trophy, when we got to the FA Vars final. So he owns us now. So
okay.
Yeah, it was quite a good time to be at the club because there were people who cared about football in North Ferriby at the helm of the club again.
Yeah.
So
how did that process come about then? Like how do you start a new club, and who was, other than the old owners, like are the supporters an investor this time, or what's the?
No, we aren't supporter owned. I know some people were in favour of that idea, but it just ended up being a lot of the original owner and then a lot of local businessmen getting behind it and submitting an application to. You have to submit an application to the FA to join, and then it was a very last minute thing. It was very before, like they applied just before the deadline. So we didn't know whether we would have to start level 10 or level 11 or even level 9. So, yeah, it was like.
And so where did you wind up starting? What level?
Level 10. We started at level 10. It's called the Northern Counties East League Division 1. So you know how low you are by how many words are in the league.
Right.
That's the thing with English football. The more words there are to describe your league, the lower down you are.
Right. So you're way 10. Down there. Level 10. Okay.
We're in the league with Hallam, who are the second oldest club in the world.
Oh,
Hallam of Sheffield, they have the world's oldest ground,
okay.
which I really want to get to. But every time we want to play them, it gets cancelled. So I never get to go.
Yeah, when
But
was the new? Okay, so that was the previous was North Ferriby United. This now is North Ferriby F.C. And when exactly was it formed? It sounds like in 2019.
yeah, the summer of 2019 was our first
So
season.
you had 2/3 of a season, I guess, to go to games.
Yeah, we were folded in March. So then we had about the first game we had was in July. So we had about 4 months without a football club.
Okay.
Then we played from summer till March. So we basically had a few months of football and then no football. So it was just kind of repeating. We had half a season no football, half a season no football, half a season no football.
So I'm sorry, but when you started up, were you at the same old ground, Grange Road?
Yeah, we're still at Grange Lane. So because I think it's owned by the council, so it can just be leased out to us.
And has it had some investment now? Is it in better shape?
Before the summer that we started the new club, there was a GoFundMe page ran to basically just raise money for funds, and then we had a community day where supporters came down and did some painting or some whatever work needed to be done, odd jobs that needed to be done. And then we've done more work since. We've raised more money. This summer we did an auction of items, and then we raised money to put in a new PA system, because that was probably the last thing that needed renovating. So we basically redone the whole ground.
Nice. Okay.
It's very
So 2019-20 season, you're in the long named league that I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, the NCEL.
Okay, we'll call it that. And how was it going? How was the team?
Well, it was difficult when we first started, obviously, because you're a new club. It's a new team. They have to get used to each other. So we did have some struggle with some results in the beginning of the event. As the season went on, there were 4 promotion spots. So it was like pretty confident that you could go up. Because they wanted to restructure the leagues, so there was more promotion spots than normal.
Yeah. So did you have any of the same players? Like, where did the players?
Yeah, we had a few players brought in because we had probably 5 or 6 players from the previous team came in.
Okay.
And more players around from the local area. So it was like pretty much, and we had the same manager. The same manager was brought in. His management team was brought in.
That's nice.
So it felt like it was the same club basically, but just obviously under a new name.
Yeah. So I'm curious. The players, let's say those 5 or 6 players that were there before. These are not full-time professional footballers, are they? They have some other.
No, they're semi-pro, so they're paid to play.
Okay. But they also have other jobs. So,
yeah, they also have other jobs.
Do you have any idea, like, what's a typical job, that somebody else they might have?
I don't know. I don't want to assume in case any of them watch this and they get a bit mad at me.
But there's none that you know of for sure. I'm just always curious what that might be.
Yeah, whenever the FA Cup's on and it's a non-league team versus a Premier League team, it does a bit annoy me how much they focus on their jobs.
Right.
Like, here's the plumber. Like,
right.
Football. Focus on his football.
Fair enough. Okay, so they were probably going to get promoted. You say they were in the top 4 spots.
Yeah, we were in the top 4 when March came about, and
boom,
the season was ended.
Okay. And then the next season, 20 to 21, started late and ended again, right? Ended early.
Yeah, the season started in our league. Put it in September. We started in September, and we got to play in the FA Vars as well this season. And so it was quite a good season because we went quite far in the Vars. We got to the 4th round. We got kicked out of the Vars because of a computing error. Told us a player was eligible, but he wasn't, so we got kicked out.
Oh no! Oh no!
But that was a bit strange. But once again, we were in and around the top 4. But eventually, when the season was cancelled and they did points per game on to see who got promoted, we were just outside the promotion spots on points per game.
Oh, that's too bad.
So we missed out. So we have to go another season. at level 10.
in the NCEL. Okay. And so when you go to a game now, I mean, are you in the same part of the ground with the same people you were with before? Is it just sort of like
Yeah.
recreating the old experience?
Yeah, everyone's bought into the new club. Everyone enjoys it. It's a great day out, and lots of people like they're just happy they can see a football team, and it's really cool to just go to these new teams, these low-level teams. And I've been to quite on a few away days with North Ferriby in the sort of the FC era, and it's all quite good. We got to go against Skegness away last season.
Who is that?
Skegness is a coast town. It's a very big seaside town in Lincolnshire, and it's a hell of a long way away. It's about 60 miles away, or maybe even longer than that. 80 miles. For a local league, that's quite a long way away. They're not in the league anymore, but we got a small minibus down, and we went down. We lost. Our goalkeeper got sent off, but it was a fun day out, obviously, because you're in Skegness. And obviously, like I said, Hallam's in the league. That's the oldest ground, so you get to go there. And then the old owner owned a team in the league, and they renamed East Hull like we were supposed to.
Okay. So he did pull that magic on some other club.
He renamed the old club he owned, East Yorkshire Carnegie, to East Hull, played at Dunswell Park. That was our second game of the season away to them, and there was a 300 attendance, which is bigger than any other attendance that East Hull had over the rest of the season, because they normally got about 30, 40.
Yeah.
And they were running I don't know if you ever heard about this, but they were running a raffle for £5,000. They were going to do it every home game. They were going to run a raffle for £5,000, but they only ended up doing it for one game because our little people turned up after that one North Ferriby game. So one guy won £5,000, and he said he was going to buy it on a hair transplant. So that was quite interesting. And then when East Hull came to our place in November, the attendance was 619.
Wow.
Which was like, it was like the highest attendance in that league since Scarborough were in the league. Scarborough were in this league when they reformed. So yeah, it was quite cool. It was a great day, just a football, like over 600 people in the ground.
Yeah. What's a typical attendance then in North Ferriby?
Before restrictions, we averaged about 350 probably.
Okay. All right.
And then last season we had restrictions on attendance. We could have a maximum of 300. So we basically sold that out every single time. So that was quite cool.
Well, now this year you'll be able to have full attendance again, right?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how, hopefully, I don't know whether attendances will grow or stay the same because people want to go to football.
Yeah.
So
is it safe to say that this East Hull is now a rival? Is that a fixture?
Not anymore, because the old owner left that club last season.
Oh.
And they've because of some dealings in his personal life. So
sounds like quite a character.
Yeah, he's quite an interesting guy. He's very well known around here for just what he's done. But
so do you have any rivals left? I mean, are you sort of rivals, like so far away?
In our league, there's a team called Hull Road Rangers who play in Hull. They're probably the closest to us in sort of like a little rivalry sort of thing. And then it's basically because every team's so close to each other, it can be a bit of a local rivalry in some sense, but because we haven't really played them much.
Right. You're kind of new at this level. So
yeah, new at this level, so we don't really have too many. But we used to play Bridlington Town, which is a seaside town in east of Yorkshire.
Huh.
So they were sort of like our local rivals. They got promoted last season through the points per game, so we can't face them in any cups or anything.
Okay. So how about in the older days when you were up in the National League South? Were there particular rivalries up there?
Boston's probably the one. Boston United.
Okay.
We played them quite a lot. We played them when we got promoted from the National League North, we went through the playoffs and we faced Boston in the semi-finals. So we played at their place, played at our place, and it was a very sort of big event because it was probably, besides the FA Trophy games, it was probably the biggest game in North Ferriby's history. So there's a lot of people there because Boston, it's in Lincolnshire, so it's not too far away. So a lot of people came up from Boston. A lot of people came from around East Yorkshire to watch North Ferriby. So they were probably the bigger rivals. And then obviously, when we got to National League, we got to face teams like York, got to go to Bootham Crescent. And then
did you go to Booth Crescent?
Yeah, I went once. It wasn't with Ferriby, but I went in 2019, where the season, obviously when things were all cancelled.
Yeah.
I went to Bootham Crescent to watch them, and it was a great. I've been to the new ground as well. I went to the. Oh, someone's come up on my Zoom. Sorry. I've been to the new ground as well. I went a few weeks ago for the opening. So that was quite cool.
Yeah, the Bootham Crescent is one of those that for quite some time people told me I should go to a game at York City because of the ground. And I didn't realize that they were about to replace it. So I didn't put it high on my priority list, which I regret now because apparently it was quite a classic old ground. So
not if you're in the away end though. Not if you're
Oh really? What was the away end like?
The toilets are very infamous at Bootham Crescent.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen photos of them, but they're
So what's the new place like? Is it nice?
The new place, it's outside of York. It's not. Bootham Crescent was right in the middle of York. The new ground, it's a bit outside. It's like this big shopping complex, lots of cafes and stuff. And then it's just like it's hard to describe because the seats are really weird color. It's a very modern ground. But the thing is, it's no real bigger than what Bootham Crescent was. So you're a bit confused. Why did you move?
Right. I guess just
why wouldn't you move to a bigger ground? But it's very strange. It's very sanitized, I think the word would be.
It seems like the new places always are. I don't know why they can't just build a new, comfortable, clean thing that still feels like the old place.
That's what a lot of. Obviously, there's something similar happened at Hull City. Obviously, we moved from Boothbury Park to the K. It's now the MKM Stadium, but it was the KC Stadium. And a lot of people felt that way. The KCOM just seems very sanitized, but I feel like the KC sort of for Hull City got a right mix between it's a modern ground, but it still has a little bit of atmosphere.
Okay.
Obviously the fans are still in there instead of boycotting like they are now. But
right. No, there's that.
So I don't know how I feel about the modern grounds.
So North Ferriby then, if they get promoted, where do they go? What's the next league up for them?
It is the Northern Counties East League Premier Division.
Oh, that's right.
Division.
Okay. From Division 1 to Premier Division.
Premier Division.
Okay.
Which is 11-9. And there we'd face teams like teams around us in that league would be Barton, like I said, and then Goole, which is a Port Town, East West Yorkshire divide sort of area. Then I don't really know any other teams in the league above. We don't play them very often,
right?
So,
but that must be the ambition, though, right? I mean,
we a lot of us feel like we can survive at Northern Premier League. Northern Premier League to Premier Division is probably where we can survive, where we can be ambitious towards getting towards. It's just a bit annoying being stuck in level 10 for that long. You make some good friends through like the local clubs and all that sort of thing, but as it goes on, you feel a bit stuck.
Yeah, well, especially when you've had 2 seasons that were going well and then got yanked out from under you. So
yeah.
So at that level, you mentioned making friends at other clubs. Like when you go to a game, is there some kind of a pub or a club or something in the ground there? And do fans kind of mix before the game?
North Ferriby, we have a clubhouse before the game, and then there's a pub not right outside the ground, but it's quite near, called the Duke of Cumberland, but a lot of people go to. And there's food and all that sort of thing. So people do mix before a game, mainly just to get a program or buy a raffle ticket or whatever. Sure. Everyone at Ferriby knows everybody, which is a really good thing because how small a club it is.
Yep.
Everyone knows everyone. So you're talking on Twitter, you're talking in the ground. People are. We have a podcast, 2010 Villages podcast. So we have a bit of a. We like to feel like we're a bigger club than we are, I think.
Well, you got an ambition. What's the name of the podcast again?
2010 Villages, because that's our nickname, the Villages.
Okay. And 2010, is that when you won the trophy?
No. That's when the people who run the podcast started watching North Ferriby. So that's what they call it.
Okay. And so at that level of football, I know, at the Premier League and Championship and up there, fans really can't mix very well, or they maybe it's just that the police don't want them to. But at that level, at level 10, it's really fine, right? I mean, if the other supporters are in your club, it's all good, right?
Yeah, I've been, like I said, I've been on a few away days with North Ferriby when we've been in level 10, and there's mixing and everyone talks to each other. You talk to people at the ground. I went to a team called Campion, which is in Bradford. And then we went there. It was a horrible day. It was raining for the whole time. I bring my dog to the football. So I'm very stereotypical non-league. So I brought my dog with me, and it was horrible weather for him. It was horrible weather for me.
Well, you can take the dog to the game? No.
Yeah, you can take your dog to the football.
Really? Like I stand out on the terraces with your dog? I'd never heard of this. Wow.
Yeah, there's a great Twitter account called Non-League Dogs.
Oh, really?
It's a great follow. It's a very before every away game, I'm having to tweet at clubs. Do you accept dogs? Can I bring my dog with me? And it's just a great thing because we can bring our dog with us, and it's a great time. Everyone makes a fuss of him, and it's like that's just what non-league's about.
Yeah, that's great. Do a lot of people bring dogs? Is that common?
Yeah, it's pretty common. Probably like you probably see 2 or 3 about.
Yep.
It's just because obviously you don't want to leave your dog at home if you're going on a long trip. Bring your dog with you. It's fun.
Well, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Do you have to buy a ticket for the dog?
No. We don't have to buy a ticket for the dog. Everyone he gets a hot dog. He gets a hot dog at the food. You get the food wagon.
And what is your Twitter handle? How do we find you?
It is Rye Somerville. RISOMERVILLE.
Okay, so Rye Somerville. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of taking a dog. So.
Yeah. It's very. It's a famous saying with non-league that the only people that watch it, it's one man and his dog.
Okay. Right.
If a club only has a low attendance, it's one man and his dog.
Okay. So in this case, they got a few hundred people and a few dogs. So
yeah.
Okay. Also at that level, you can, I don't know if you drink beer or not, but you can have a beer and stand there and watch the game, right? Like
yeah, you can get a beer and just watch pitch side, and that's what attracts a lot of people to Ferriby from Hull City. It's like you can just enjoy the game by the pitch. You can have a pint, you can have a glass of wine or whatever you can get from the clubhouse, whatever they let you have, and you can just enjoy the game. It feels a lot more regular. And the weird thing about that in football and whatever in England is that Hull City's ground, it hosts a rugby team as well. If you're watching football, you can't have a beer at the ground, you can't have a beer pitchside, but if you're watching the rugby, you can. So it's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. The rules are a bit weird.
That is a bit weird. Do they? Huh. And a lot of people also enjoy it for the terraces, right? For the standing, or for just lean on a rail behind the goal and just be right there next to the game. So
when it was the Hull City v North Ferriby game a few weeks ago, a lot of Hull City fans were standing behind the goal, and when North Ferriby's goalkeeper was in front of them, he teaches a few of them at PE.
Oh, really?
So we get a lot of heckles from them because they're so close to each other. Like, just stick to PE, stick to teaching or whatever. Having a little go at him. So that's just what you're doing on me, because everyone knows a few people at these clubs, so you're bound to know somebody.
Right.
And have a go at them. It's all in good fun.
And they can hear you too. I mean, people shout all kinds of things at Premier League, but they can't hear you.
Yeah. If you're at Ferriby and you shout some abuse to someone, they're going to hear it. It's going to affect them. So, I remember at North Ferriby's last game, we played a team called Knaresborough in a pre-season friendly, and one of the Knaresborough players went over and he got like clipped on the back of his leg, but a foul wasn't given in front. It was right in front of the linesman, and the Knaresborough player is rolling around. He's complaining, and the linesman just goes, "Give over." Just tell him to deal with it. Nothing's going to happen. So you just get that annoying. You just have a bit of a joke with each other, and don't get that in professional football.
Yeah, when you can actually hear what the referee is saying. So that's fun. You also sent me, by the way, a picture of the club's kit, and I believe it won an award.
Yes, last season. Yeah, last season we brought out a new away shirt in jade green. I do have it, but I don't have it on me, sadly. We won an award. It won. I can't remember the website. I can't remember the website's name, but it won best non-league kit, and then it was ranked quite highly in overall kits as well.
Okay.
So, and then because of all the publicity it was getting, the National Football Museum in Manchester put a little exhibit up of like iconic shirts and all that, and then put our away shirt in it, and to commemorate this, the BBC came down to an FA Vars game we had against Northwich Victoria, and because I was wearing the shirt, I got pulled over. Can you do a few words for us? So I had to speak and it was just after lockdown, so I had my head shaved. I didn't have any hair. I looked a bit strange. I sadly couldn't find the clip. It's a really stupid clip. But I had to walk on the pitch. I had to walk and model it. I had to say a few words. I had to say how good it was. It was very strange, very surreal for a small club like us to have cameras down and watching us play. And
wow,
no,
and did they at least win that day?
Yeah, we won that day. We won 3-2.
Okay,
that's a minute penalty.
And what are the traditional club colors?
Green and white. We are green and white.
And still so as far as the Phoenix club, like everything really is the same, right?
Yeah, pretty much absolutely everything is the same. It's the same manager as last time. The only thing that's changed is instead of saying UTD or whatever for United, you just say FC. Okay. Everyone just calls the club North Ferriby anyway, so nothing's really changed. Only the badge has changed. Only the league has changed. Everything's the same.
So I always like to ask about stuff to do around the area. I've been to Hull, but I've not been to North Ferriby.
Yeah, so I remember reading your blog post about Hull and how confused you were by it. So I hope I can be a bit of
it was also it was at the tail end of a long trip. Sometimes when I go on a tour of England, I might be there for 11 days and go to 9 games. And so by the 9th game, my enthusiasm might have dropped a bit. And I got there, and I think the weather was not great, and the fans were upset with the owner, and it was a 0-0 with Reading, and Reading didn't sing anything, and it was just sort of it's just one of those days. So I need to come back. Yeah. They're back in the championship, and so I need to come back, give it another shot. But
definitely.
What kinds of
things? It was a great place when you get to know it. So
I'm sure. Yeah. So what? I'm interested in maritime history and fish and chips, so I know that much about Hull. What kinds of things should people do when they're up for a game, either at Hull City or at North Ferriby?
North Ferriby, obviously, there's the Humber Bridge. I've told us a lot about the Humber Bridge today, but there is something to visit. It's a great bit of engineering, but also in Hull, there's Hull and around. There's the Maritime Museum and the Deep, which is an aquarium, and then you have the world's smallest window. You can see the world's smallest window in Hull.
Really?
And
how small is it?
It's I don't know. I can't actually remember where it is in Hull, but I've seen it. It's just like that size.
Okay. All right. Well, it had to be somewhere. Somebody's bound to have the world's smallest window, so it's Hull. Okay.
Yeah, it's Hull. And then we have weird street names. We have the Land of Green Ginger and
Green Ginger?
Yeah.
What is that?
There's just a street called Land of Green Ginger, and nobody really knows why.
Okay.
Yeah. North Ferriby in general, there's not much to do in North Ferriby. It's just a small village.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, there's a pub and there's the football ground, and there's the train station. There's a train station. But yeah,
Okay.
that's North Ferriby. That's it.
And as far as food goes, obviously the fish and chips, but also the patty, right?
The patty, yeah, the whole patty.
Yeah. What is
it from Bob Hart.
Explain.
It is mashed potato, onion, and sage battered in either fish and chip batter or breadcrumbs and deep fried.
Okay.
And this is because it was a lot cheaper than fish, so it became very popular just to eat that instead of fish. Because Hull used to be very poor. It was the most bombed city per capita in World War II.
Oh, really?
In England. So more than London, more than Coventry. So it wasn't a great place in the period after the war. So a lot of people were poor. So people started eating patties instead.
Okay.
And now it's just become our thing. People just eat them. I've had one. It's awesome.
You had one? That's it?
I haven't just had one, but I've had a few.
Okay. And where should people go to get one?
Bob Carver's. Bob Carver's is the place in Hull.
Okay.
Near White Frigate is the place, and obviously I might not be in White Frigate. I might be angering people around Hull
because there might be other places that other people would be.
There's two Bob Carvers in Hull.
Oh.
But I don't know the exact street names, but yeah, there's two to go to, and just get a whole patty if you're near, because they're lovely.
Okay. And you can choose between breadcrumbs or fish and chip batter?
Yeah.
Or do they just...
batter or breadcrumbs. I prefer
batter.
I prefer batter.
Batter. Okay. So, and what is the other restaurant that it took me, when someone said it to me, I had to hear it 2 or 3 times before I understood what they were saying about Thieving Harry's?
Thieving Harry's. I've never been to Thieving Harry's, so I can't tell you about that. But yeah, I know a few people who've been there and all that, so that made me really laugh when I read the blog post, and it was like, because my accent's not as strong as most people's, right. But it's always funny hearing people not understand what we're saying, and I always find that quite funny.
Well, yeah, when my host first said patty, I thought she was saying pate, as in goose liver pate or something, and I thought that was an odd thing to be known for in the northeast of or the east of England. So, and Thieving Harry's, that's what she said, Thieving Harry's. I didn't really know what that meant. So, all right. So, but the central part of Hull now is actually quite nice, right? Down, it's all been rebuilt, I guess, since the war. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were City of Culture in the UK in 2017. So it all got a lot of stuff got redone. The art museum called the Ferrens Art Gallery got redone, and there's a lot of artwork done around the city, a lot of murals, and it's just great because Hull's been like people aren't very welcome to bring people into Hull because it gets made fun of a lot.
Yep.
I don't know, being a terrible looking place, but it's nice when you get into it. It's a really lovely place. People are lovely. So yeah, I think that's just sort of the vibe you get around Hull City, you get around North Ferriby. People in Hull are friendly. So it oozes into the football culture. Everyone's like nice to other Hull people, and some Hull fans might get a bit angry at others, but North Ferriby, I don't want to say accepting, because we'll have a bit of a joke with rival fans, but there's a bit of a more accepting nature in non-league than there is in football league, so it oozes into the North Ferriby.
Yeah, well, I really I appreciate it, because I like to hear about what non-league is like, and I love these stories of the Phoenix clubs. Like, you can't take our club away from us. Like we're going to rebuild this, and we're going to start over. So.
We're entering the FA Cup this season. First time as a reform club. We're entering the FA Cup.
And which round? And when do you start?
Extra preliminary round.
So you'll be starting in early August then, right?
Yeah, we start August 7th away to Whitley Bay, which is near Newcastle. And it'll be fun, because the furthest we've ever made is the 4th qualifying round. We got to a replay against a team called Stalybridge Celtic.
Okay.
And we lost that game. We would have faced Doncaster away on the BBC if we won. So that would have been that would have been nice. But Obviously, we didn't.
Okay.
But hopefully we can make that far again. I think we only have to win 5 games. So the BBC shows one game from every single round of the FA Cup.
Okay.
So from preliminary upwards. So if you can ever get a stream of the BBC, it's a good thing to watch. There's 2 random teams in the middle. I believe last year they showed 2 teams from Manchester playing, and I've no affinity to these 2 teams, but it's great just seeing such small sides on the television.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, best of luck to North Ferriby. Thanks for coming on to tell us about it. So,
all right.
to give me your Twitter one more time. We'll link to it down in the description.
Yeah.
But
it's Rye Somerville, RISOMERVILLE.
Okay.
Difficult to spell, but
that's all right. And anything else, if we wanted to keep up with North Ferriby, we know about the podcast. I'm sure we can find them on Twitter and Facebook and everything.
And also, there's the fanzine. I have here, View from the Allotment End.
Okay.
At VFTAE, just the initials.
Okay, View from the Allotment End. Okay.
So yeah, a lot of places to keep up to date with Ferriby. So.
All right. Excellent.
And also, you can listen to our games on the radio.
Oh.
Hull KR FM on Twitter, whatever. You can listen to on that. So if you ever want to listen to North Ferriby's games, you can. Every home game is recorded. So.
Excellent. All right.
So it's really cool to follow up with North Ferriby because we're very modern in our technology.
Yeah. And what do you say? Like, come on, you villagers, or up the villagers, or
up the villagers?
Up the villagers.
Up the villagers.
All right. Well, up the villagers. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Sure.